Welcome to the podcast, Wait, What Do You Do Again? Where we talk to everyday people doing amazing things. I'm your host, Megan DeFord. Let's go. Guys, guess what? This podcast is turning 1 year old this summer. I am so excited to celebrate with you. I have free things that I'm giving away, and you can find out more information on that at megdeford.com. Thank you so much for listening, for reviewing, for commenting, for sharing with your friends. Please keep doing that. It really helps. And for making this podcast possible. Okay, thanks. Today, we're talking with Stephen Schumann, Nordic Combined athlete for the U.S. Nordic Combined team and 2022 Winter Olympian. Enjoy. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you. You are an Olympian and you are in Nordic Combined. So what is that?
Yeah, that's a common question.
Yeah.
Nordic Combined is one of the original Olympic sports. It's been in every edition of the Winter Olympic Games since 1924.
Mhm.
And it's a combination of the original two skiing sports that were at the Olympics, which is ski jumping and cross-country ski racing. So we ski jump first, usually, kind of depends, but most of the time we'll ski jump first. And then depending on how well we jump, we'll get ranked. And then we start a cross-country race that same day, usually a few hours in between to kind of rest and refuel. But we'll start a race based on how well we jumped. So if you win the ski jumping competition or that portion, then you start the race in first place at 0 seconds. And depending on how far or how much, I guess, worse you jump than the winner, you'll start a certain amount of time back. So it can be anywhere from a second behind to 4 or 5 minutes behind. And the idea is that you actually stand at the start line for that 1 second or 4 or 5 minutes. And when it hits that, then you're allowed to go and chase the people in front of you down. And whoever crosses the line first wins the competition.
That is very mentally tricky to like stand on
It
the
is.
line for that amount of time. Who came up with that? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. That's a really good question. That's a piece of the history I should probably look up.
That's
Um,
really diabolical. But so you started out in ski jumping when you were a little kid, right?
I did, yeah.
How did you get into that?
I started ski jumping when I was 5, so I've been doing it for honestly longer than I can remember. Some of my first memories are on a ski jump. But my dad had a friend that was a part of the Legacy Foundation from the 2002 Olympics in some way. And we got tickets to go up to the Olympic Park, the Utah Olympic Park in Park City. And there were some people ski jumping off the biggest hill there. And we went up to the top and I was captivated. I don't remember this. This is all I've been told these things, but
Sure.
yeah, I was captivated. The guys that were up there, like they're like, "Hey, come check this out." So they like picked me up and lifted me over the fence and showed me their bindings and their skis and their equipment and everything that was going on. And I just fell in love with it. I just sat there for, I don't know, as long as they were jumping, hour and a half, and watched. And then as soon as I got home, I was like, "Mom, Dad, can I do this?" Like basically just kept asking them. And then finally they're like, they called the club and were like, "Yeah, yep, sure." The club was like, "We don't usually take 5-year-olds, but if he can ski and he can stop, then whatever, send him up." So
When do kids usually start?
I think it's close to that age. It's usually like maybe just a little bit older, like a little bit more control over themselves, like maybe 7. So just a tiny bit older. It was
Mhm.
just a little bit unorthodox for me to start at 5.
Very cool. And then what does it feel like? Like if you could describe ski jumping in like 3 words, what would you say it feels like?
In 3 words, well, I would preface it by saying that I think it's pretty indescribable feeling,
Mhm.
and I think that's why so many people do it, and why it becomes like such an obsession for
Mhm.
so many ski jumpers. Like it's kind of uncomparable. I mean, you could go skydiving, but you're not the one creating the lift and everything as much skydiving. So it's unique, magical, and exhilarating. Like it's so fun when you have a good jump and you have the pressure of air underneath you pushing you up, and you can kind of just feel like you're actually flying and floating through the air without
That's
any kind
awesome.
of extra propulsion or anything.
That's really awesome.
It's cool.
And so you're in the air, you're flying, you have this propulsion, and then you switch gears and you're doing cross country. Like, how do you balance the two? How do you train for the two?
That's a fantastic question. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard to figure out. It's definitely putting pieces together to a puzzle and not everyone has it figured out, and everyone figures it out in different ways. The two sports definitely contrast. They're not complementary. They don't really help each other, other than just, some general athleticism that you can get from each one. But yeah, on the ski jumping side is really powerful. So we'll train in the gym, we'll go lift weights, we'll do plyometrics, anything like that. We do a lot of technique for ski jumping. The ski jumping side is very, very technical more than anything. You have to be able to put your body in the right positions at the right times to be able to actually execute and get the result that you want. And it all starts from the very, like, as soon as you're sitting on the bar, ready to go down the in run, the ramp that we start on, it all starts with the way you set that. And if that doesn't go right, then it makes it really hard for the rest to go right. So it's a really technical, nitpicky sport. And most of what we do to train for that is nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cross country side is a lot of just time and intervals and consistency and management of efforts. So just making sure that we train correctly and use our time wisely and don't do sessions that are unnecessary because we're doing two sports. So we have to train. Yeah, we have to split our time between two things, and we can't push so hard that we're too tired to do the other one because it's a two sport.
Sport. Yes.
Sport.
How far is
Yeah.
the distance for the cross country portion?
It's almost always 10 kilometers.
10 kilometers. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it takes about somewhere, I mean, depending on the course and the snow conditions, anywhere from like 21 to 28 or 29 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. And so it's interesting that you said for the ski jumping, it's like very technical and nitpicky. Do you find you're that way outside of the sport? Like, does that translate to your everything else that you're doing?
Sometimes, I mean, definitely I can see the nitpickiness in when I'm in sports. Like I like to have things right. I can see it when I do cross country skiing and that kind
Mhm.
of training. I don't necessarily nitpick the training or like the technique or anything,
Mhm.
but I definitely nitpick the training and like to kind of have things planned out and have a general idea of like what I'm going for. Because another funky part of the ski jumping thing is it's kind of a mystery at the highest level. Like everybody has this base of understanding how ski jumping works and like the fundamentals, but once you get to the highest level of the sport, then you have to find your way to basically solve this puzzle and throw yourself as far down this hill as you possibly can. And everyone does it differently. You watch two different, they don't look the same, and so it's kind of like going in with a goal and then playing around with it a little bit, which I think I definitely see that in my everyday life where I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, but I don't necessarily know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to take it as it comes and try new things and try and learn from them. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've been on the US national team for 9 years, correct?
yeah, something like
Somewhere
that.
around there, almost a decade.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I think this next year might be my 10th year.
cool.
Yeah.
And how do you stay motivated? And then also if people are just listening to this, you are not very old. So like, how do you not only stay motivated with being on the team that long and obviously like you're pursuing these goals, but then how are you also incorporating that into your life, right? Like, and going through, some pretty major life changes at that age.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting balance, and balance is, yeah, I'm still learning. I think everybody's still learning or constantly learning how to balance multiple things at once. For reference, I'm 25 years old, so I made the national team when I was, I think, 16 or 15, and that was definitely interesting. I was training with guys that were way older than me. I was the youngest guy on the team by at least 2 years. The oldest guy on the team was 32 and had a baby. Like we there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect, but I mean, it was interesting. It gave me a lot of perspective on life, and I mean, I had to grow up pretty quick and
Mhm.
get things together and learn how to take control of what I'm doing and not need to follow what someone else is telling me to do all the time. Because a lot of sports at a high level are kind of, like I said with the ski jumping thing, it's kind of finding your own path and learning how to trust yourself and learning the things that you need. And I think it's pretty cool that I learned that from a fairly young age from some really cool people that were around to help out and teach me a little bit about their experience. And so that I didn't just jump in to, yeah, right into the fire. But as far as motivation goes, it ebbs and flows. I think I think it was a lot easier when I was younger. In the last couple years, just as I've been doing it for, as you said, 9 years, it's gotten a little bit harder to motivate and do everything on pure motivation.
Mhm.
And it just takes a little bit more, I guess, discipline and determination. Like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this 100% today, but I know that if I don't do it, that I'm going to regret it. And that I have opportunity in my life, most likely to be a professional athlete. And that's right now. So I'm going to take advantage of this time when my body's healthy enough and my mind is healthy enough. And I'm excited about this thing. I'm not gonna drop the ball on it just because one day I wake up and I'm like, nah, I don't really feel like running today. Like, yeah, and almost always as soon as I get out the door, and I'd say this for pretty much anyone, if you're thinking about going out for a run and you're like, I don't know, and you're kind of on the fence, you should almost always just do it because you're gonna feel better afterwards than
Yeah.
if you don't. And so that's kind of what I try to remember as far as motivation. And there's also endless goals. Like sports are kind of a never ending cycle of there's always a little bit more. So as far as objective goals and that kind of motivation, that doesn't go away. Every athlete wants to be the Olympic champion or the world champion or the World Cup champion or whatever it might be. There's almost always something else to chase. So the objective things are easy. I think it's kind of like the internal motivation that can be a little bit harder to manage.
Yeah. It's funny. I do run, and people who listen to this podcast will have heard me say multiple times that I don't actually think I like running. Like I do run, and I like setting the goal, and I like achieving that goal or exceeding it. I like the people I run with. I love the discipline of it, but I don't actually like there have been very few runs that I've been on that I'm like, man, this feels so great. I'm so happy I'm doing this right now. But I get up really early to run because it's sort of my protected time first thing in the morning. And I always think of my friend Rachel, who's like, just get your feet on the floor. Like just get your feet on the floor. And once they're on the floor, there's no excuse not to get out there, right? So I love that advice of like, if you're thinking about maybe skipping it, just don't. Like it's really that simple. Just put your feet on the floor and don't skip it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just get out there. So you like are there, let me start over for this. Are there categories outside, like do you sort of age out of the sport, or is there older age categories like 40, 50, 60 that you can look forward to, or not really with the sport
It's kind of
for
interesting in that way.
competition? Yeah.
Yeah, there are competitions for masters. They're called
Hmm.
like that age range. I think over 30 or 35 is masters, but it's not. I mean, it's more like recreational at that point.
Gotcha.
There's not. Yeah, there's not really age ranges. So once you're at the World Cup level, like what I'm skiing,
Hmm.
it's kind of a broad range. Like even if you're 16 years old, if you're skiing on the World Cup, then you're competing against 30-year-olds. It doesn't
Right.
matter. It's just one age group, and it's just the best in the world.
Right.
So I think those age groups come in when you're juniors and you're moving up through the ranks, and then once you're say you're retired from professional skiing, then you kind of go into those masters categories.
Right.
I do think that a lot of athletes, at least in ski jumping, don't necessarily go into that afterwards just because ski jumping is it's a really mentally taxing sport because it's so
Hmm.
technical and really hard and like you have to have your body like in this very specific place to be able to do it well. And once you're done, like it's maybe not there, so you don't have the same feelings. It gets harder to ski jump once your body's not the way that you want it to be. And it's the thing with ski jumping is it's all about the feeling that you get from it. And if you don't necessarily get that feeling anymore when you go jump, then it for a lot of people it's not worth it, and they'd rather remember the feeling of the amazing jumps that they had when they were at their peak and they were at their best, and there's nothing won't it won't quite compare to that. So but yeah, there are older categories, so they'll have masters world championships here and there, but I haven't really looked into it yet.
Yeah. You've got plenty of time. How does it work to make it to the Olympic team? Like, what are the competitions that you have to get through in order to make it to the Olympic team? And when does that solidify? And then also with that, what does your year look like? Are you constantly training or do you take time off? Like, how do you manage that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with just training and then go through how we kind of build the year and what it looks like and I'll preface it by saying we've already been working to qualify spots for the nation.
Hmm.
So that starts basically, what would that be, like 18 or 20 months before the Olympic Games?
Okay.
We'll start qualifying spots for the nation. That doesn't mean that, like, if I qualify the spot for the nation, that I get that spot, but it means that the USA has a spot.
Right. Okay.
And so that was happening this past winter. And I think, I don't know how many we have. It continues rolling through next winter, so it's not static at this
Okay.
point. Um, we finished our World Cup season about a week ago, so on the 24th or something of March in
Cool.
Finland. So this right now is kind of my off time. Got home, went to the desert, hung out. This is the time that I can kind of just, I'll still work out because that's what I do, but also can, if I don't want to, then I let myself just lay on the couch and be a potato
Yeah.
for a little bit. I definitely need it after a long season. Like, the body needs it, but the brain needs it more than anything. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important, if you're doing something that is really goal driven, to kind of let yourself decompress every once in a while. And that's something that I've learned a lot as I've gotten older, is that rest is good. It it's what your body needs to improve. You don't get better from training. You actually get better from resting, because your body needs to repair the damage that you did from training. And if you don't let it repair it, then you can't get better. So yeah, I've it's always been hard for me this time of year to kind of fully rest, but yeah, it's usually like 2-ish weeks of really low energy, kind of just hanging out and seeing friends, catching up, figuring out everything else that I've got going on in life. And yeah, and then probably second week of April this year, I'll start training again. We'll we'll start with mostly just cross country stuff. It's just like fun training, and we prepare by doing a lot of volume, so lots of hours, nothing very hard, just tons of time outside exercising, like 25, 30, sometimes 40 hours a week. We'll just train a ton for about 8 weeks, and then after that we'll start the jumping phases and start adding intensity. So start making things a little bit harder and getting a little bit more power involved in the skiing side. And then, like I said, we'll start jumping. So we'll start actually putting some of the work we do in the gym in the spring onto the hill, and then we'll kind of do that all summer. It'll vary what we're doing. We don't jump every week, but we'll kind of alternate between jumping weeks and cross country focus weeks to give each one like a really focused period, and then put it on the back burner, do something else, and then kind of play around with that a little bit. And the intensity just gets harder and harder as we get closer to the season. So like in October, we'll be doing max efforts, going as hard as we possibly can, versus in June, we'll be going like an awkward pace that's like hard, but you can do it for a really long time, but you don't really want to. It's like that kind of thing. So we'll
Yeah.
train those two. And then the season starts in November, and that's when our qualifications for the Olympics start. Olympic qualifications are basically just based off of world ranking list for us within the US. So the world ranking list is, or World Cup overall list. So however well you do in a World Cup competition, you get points. Those points accumulate over the season and they add up. And whoever the top 2 or 3 athletes are on, I don't know the exact date, but like January 22nd or something like that, those are the athletes that will go to the Olympics. So we're one sport where we don't actually know our Olympic team for sure until like 2.5, maybe 3 weeks before the games start. So we're fighting for spots leading into it. Yeah, we're fighting for spots all the way up until the games.
Wow. I have a few questions from that.
Yes.
I love that you're like, yeah, I get 2 weeks off basically.
Mm.
So thank you for joining us during those 2 weeks. Where are you jumping in the summer? Like,
Yeah,
are
that's a
you in
great
the US
question.
or where are you?
We can jump in the US. There's a handful of hills that have plastic on them. So the way it works is in the winter, it's an ice track that we go down going into the actual takeoff where we jump off the end, and then the landing hill is snow.
Okay.
In the summer, to simulate that, the in run, the tracks will be plastic and porcelain. So it's like a plastic box kind of with little porcelain bulbs, like little domes, and it gets sprayed down with water, and the water makes it slick, or more slick than it would be otherwise. And we can get enough speed off the end of the takeoff to jump the same way in the summer as we do in the winter. The landing hill is this like, it's like plastic spaghetti almost. It's not turf. It's like it's like really thin. It looks like spaghetti noodles, that are matted down and they point down the hill. So it's one direction. If you went the other way on them, like your tips would get caught under and be a bad time.
Yeah.
And those get sprayed down with water the same way. Sprinkler systems get them wet, and we can ski jump pretty much the exact same way in the summer as the winter. Yeah, so we can do that in Park City. We can do that in Lake Placid. They just redid their hills. They're great. Steamboat Springs has a small one. Anchorage, Alaska has a small one. But yeah, there's a bunch of small ones. The two locations with Olympic-sized hills for summer jumping are Park City and Lake Placid.
No, cool. And then it's interesting that you are really, competing for spots for the Olympic team right until the very end. How does that work with team dynamics? Like, I guess just how does that work with team dynamics? And then how does it work with coaches? Like, do you have a personal coach and then a national coach, or how does that work?
That's a super good question because it is kind of a confusing thing. We do a fairly small sport. Nordic Combined is not a huge sport that everyone's familiar with. So, because of that, it's a really tight knit group. And speaking from my last experience, like everyone I was on the team with are some of my best friends still to this day. And the guys I train and compete with that are on the team now are we're really close friends. We're like basically like family, like brothers. Like we spend way too much time with each other, more time than we do with our actual families. Like
Yeah.
we're in European hotel rooms with twin beds that are touching. We're basically sleeping in the same beds together all the time. Like,
Right.
we're basically family at this point. So
Yeah.
we all want the best for each other and we'll all be happy for each other. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't get a little bit awkward at times and a little bit kind of tense. And it does get tense because we're all chasing this dream. We're all highly competitive. And I'd be hard pressed to say that anybody wants it more than someone else does. And so, naturally that comes with a little bit of tension, but it's never been a real issue, and we all know how to deal with it. And like I said, we all care about each other, so we try to support as much as we can and understand that whoever isn't getting a spot is going to be disappointed, and just try to be conscientious of that and not make it an issue. Not going to be an issue unless someone makes it an issue. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, do you have your own personal coach and then there's a national coach, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have national coaches. None of us really have personal coaches.
Okay.
So we're figuring out some coaching stuff right now, but
Hmm.
we have like two or three coaches that work with all of us. And so they're all, I mean, we're all getting kind of the same information or input, and I mean individualized for each athlete, but from the same people, which honestly kind of makes it more competitive in my opinion, that we're given the same opportunities. And so it really is about as level of a playing field as you can get,
Yeah.
competing against your own teammates with the same opportunities and all that, which is kind of a funny dynamic that those are the ones that you're like, hey, I want to beat this person because I know they've done the same things as me.
Right.
It's just kind of funny. But I would say that even though we have national team coaches, a lot of us have mentors as well that we maybe don't talk about or aren't hired. They're not like actual coaches, but they'll advise us. And like I know that I have a good friend that I'll give a call and be like, hey, this is what my training plan looks like. What do you think? Do you think there's anything that I would add or you'd like to add or change or anything like that? Because we have a lot of control over how we're training,
Hmm.
so we can kind of play around with it and get input from the different pieces that have helped us and want to help us, and kind of make it a community thing as an individual as well as a team thing with the national team coaches.
That's cool. And I think one of the things I was really surprised about is costs associated with training at this level and competing at this level. And this is even before the Olympics, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so the US government does not fund Olympians and Olympic sports, and which is different than other countries. So for people who are listening to this, I am like so stoked during the Olympics. Like no one is more patriotic than me during the Olympics. And all of this is either self-funded or coming from grants, philanthropies, or sponsorships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or philanthropic efforts, I should say. How much does it cost per year to compete in this sport, like roughly?
That depends on what we're talking. If we're talking like including coaches and
Yeah,
coaching
like all
costs
in,
and
like how
all of
much does
that,
this cost? Yeah.
oh man. Well, we'll say if I was to do it completely alone without any support from a national team or a team or an organization paying
Right.
for coaching and stuff, it would,
Right.
I mean, easily. probably like $100,000.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're paying for you pay for coaches, you pay for wax techs because that's a huge part of our sport is making sure that the skis actually slide on the snow efficiently. So you have
That sounds
coaches.
important. Yeah.
It's super important. Yeah, it's this like crazy matrix of this sport that I have no idea really how it works. And there's these gurus. They're basically just magicians, and they put this stuff on my skis and they make it fast. And then I'm like, oh great, I can ski past people without trying now.
Mhm.
So yeah, super important stuff like that. Equipment is really expensive and it's really specialized, and travel. I mean,
Yeah.
travel alone in a year is probably 25 or $30,000. So yeah, I mean, it is a super expensive thing, and a lot of sports are more expensive than people realize when you get to that highest level and have to start paying salaries or start traveling to distant countries. And yeah, not everyone has government funding. And I think it is really cool that in the US, despite not having government funding, people are passionate enough about sports to give to those sports and to want to see these athletes succeed and chase their dreams. Because I think that yeah, I think that it's incredible to see people chase dreams and do what they dreamed about as little kids. And I think it's pretty remarkable that in the US, the sporting environment brings out all of this philanthropy in people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's about supporting dreams, which is hugely important. And one of the things that I get, I'm also like never more patriotic in my life. And I also like cry throughout the Olympics, like all the stories, right? Like you've been chasing this dream and starting this since you were 5 years old. Like you've dedicated your life to this and you're representing me and everyone else in the country on a world stage. Like that's really special and really incredible. And like you said, to be able to do it, either some people are self-funding or to be getting support from just enthusiasts and people who want to support you, not necessarily, it's not coming from the government, is pretty amazing. And the level at which we can compete on is pretty amazing when other countries are funding it, which, you know, also I think in some ways makes it like a little bit more impressive. Not like I am being very Americentric right now, but I think it's like even more impressive when I'm like, man, this all you have to it's like, the Barbie movie, like all you have to do is X. Like your government's funding you to act. This is your job. This is your career. It kind of like puts it in perspective a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's wild. For reference, our budget is somewhere around the 400-ish thousand dollar mark, five hundred
Mhm.
thousand dollar mark, and the highest budgets in our sport are closer to 2.5 million.
Wow.
So we're working with like basically an eighth of the budget of what the biggest teams are using, and I mean it makes a difference. And
Sure.
I agree. I think it is impressive when maybe we have slightly less funding than other countries and still manage to compete at the same level with those athletes.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool too because it shows how much the athletes care. Like, there's not really any Olympic athletes that are doing the sport for the money.
Right.
Like you're not making some people are. Some people are doing very well, but
Yeah.
like the vast majority of people chasing the Olympic dream aren't making a ton of money from it. They're doing it because they actually love it,
Yeah.
which I think is really really cool when you realize that and you get to watch the emotion that people have when they succeed or when they fail or when they see their friends succeed or whatever else happens. Like the Olympics are full of emotion, and it's a really unique thing to see people kind of put everything aside and go and do this, like play silly games basically in front of everybody for everyone's joy and do it with everything they've got.
Yeah, there's something so beautiful about it. Like there's something so beautiful that like we as a world come together and yes, there's the competitive nature of it. Like everybody wants to
Yeah.
beat everybody else, but
Yeah.
I mean it's like the love of the sport and people cheering each other on and you're cheering on like I think it was javelin this past summer Olympics and the guy from Pakistan and his like village sent him there
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh my God, like want him to win." Like he's so bad, and it's just a really cool thing that brings us together and
Mhm.
and taps into something deep inside our humanity. Like what was the first Olympics that you qualified for?
It was 2022. It was Beijing.
Cool.
That's the only Olympics I've gone to.
Yeah.
I missed the 2018 Olympics by just a couple spots. I was also pretty green. I was, 17, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a bummer. It hurt, but learned a
What
lot from it,
was
and yeah,
yeah, what was the feeling like when you qualified?
it was amazing. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of emotions and life and hard work and pain and just like physical, emotional, whatever coming together, and finally it was like, holy! holy shit, I did
Yeah.
it. Like we're
Yeah.
actually going to the Olympics. Like I remember going and skiing with my coach right after. Like we were just out doing an easy ski and we were kind of quiet and it was a pretty day. And he was just like, dude, you're going to the effing Olympics. Like, let's go. And like freaking out and like gave me a hug. I was super cool. Yeah. So it was an incredible feeling. And then, I mean, competing at the Olympics is another just remarkable feeling. Like I was strangely calm during it. Like I
Mhm.
was not stressed at all. It's like the least stressed I was competing.
Interesting.
I just like we were fight. I mean, we fought for so many spots the whole time that it was just like, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, might as well just do it. And so I mean, it was I don't know, just like look down and see the Olympic rings on your chest, and you don't even realize that like there's all these people watching until you get text messages or your family is proud and you like see a video of someone that loves you crying or whatever. Like it's I mean, it was super cool to just see the Olympic rings on my chest and
Yeah.
like, wow, okay, this happened.
Yeah, I
I'll have
just got
this with me
chills you saying
forever.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did anything about the experience? I love that you were calm. Like you had made it, just it's time to go. Like you trained for this. But was there anything that surprised you about Beijing and about the experience?
I mean, there's a lot that surprised me about Beijing. It was a super interesting Olympics. I mean, it was a COVID Olympics, so we were just kind
That's
of locked
right.
down and didn't really get to do much outside of the actual games. But it surprised me. I don't know if any like really what surprised me. I think it was interesting to like kind of see how my own emotions went up and down throughout it, and like how that felt for me and what I learned from actually being at the Olympics and all that, which I'm still trying to 100% figure out. Hopefully, we do another one and I can be
Yeah,
like, okay, this is what I did learn from the last ones.
right.
This is going to get better for this one. But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what is your mindset other than making it? Like, what is your mindset going into 2026? Like, are you approaching it a little bit differently, or how are you thinking about 26?
yeah, I am approaching it a bit differently than last year. Well, so we basically train the same every year, whether it's an Olympic year or a World Championship
Right,
year or whatever. It's I mean, we do the same thing. It's just a different goal. There's just a different like thing that you look at in the morning. You're like, hey, this is the goal.
right.
Last year, I made the decision to move to Trondheim, Norway for most of the summer. I was there like July through November. So,
Mhm.
4 or 5 months. And then we compete all year. So I was also over in Europe from November until a week ago. And yeah, I'm just not going to do that this year. I did that because we have coaches that live there. Our coaches are Norwegian, so we went to there to try or train and kind of focus in and like see if moving there really made a big difference. Like being in this like bubble zone of
Mhm.
training, and for me, it didn't. I realized that being home and being with the people that I love and the people that support me puts me in a much better mental place to do what I'm trying to do,
Mhm.
and that is more important to me than just getting perfect training every single day. Because if I don't have those people, then there's my support system, and when things go bad, then there's nothing to lean back on. Versus if I'm here, then I can lean on the people that want me to lean on them. And so, kind of my philosophy for the year is I want to try to make it a little bit more community and bring all the people like my parents or my girlfriend or the local club and like try to really make it not just about me but make it about everybody that's helped me get to this point and allow people to be a part of it in a way that they haven't before and kind of let people see more of like what I do and how my journey works and that kind of thing.
That's really cool. Now, is your girlfriend also competitive and meticulous, or like is she into the sport? How does that tell me about her?
Tell you about her. She's great. We haven't been dating super long, but a couple months, and she's super cool. She doesn't really ski. I've taken her skiing a handful of times, and she had a ton of fun. She's actually quite good at it, especially for having never skied before.
Mhm.
But yeah, she is competitive. She ran track at the University of Utah, so quite an impressive, incredible runner. And so she totally understands that, and she understands the hard work that goes into it. But she's definitely learning a little bit about what I do compared to what she does because it's I like there's similarities, but it's not the same. Yeah. So
That's cool. I feel like it takes a special person to be with someone competing at this level. So it's cool that she has that experience as someone who
Mhm.
ran Division 1 in college. That's awesome. And do you have any do you have any pre-competition superstitions or like rituals that you do? Do you
Uh,
want to share?
I mean, not really any rituals. There's one thing that is I like I can't believe that it's true, but whatever. I've It's not even a superstition. I just like am too far deep to change it. Like I just
Hmm.
can't. I have four pairs of them, but I've had the same socks that I ski jump in since I was 12. And they're terrible. They are I mean they're warm, but like they're loose and they're falling apart and whatever, but they're these like Under Armour Superman socks that somebody gave me at some point, and I was like I liked them and thought they were cool, and I have ski jumped in those for the last 13 years. And I have to. I'm
Yeah.
not superstitious. Like if I jumped in something else, I think I'd be fine and it'd probably be better. But like I'm like I don't want to change the feeling. I like these. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're gonna go with it for
Yeah.
until I'm done.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I was surprised to learn is that Nordic Combined is for men only. And it's one of the few sports that's men only. So, do you have any thoughts that you would want to share about that? Like, I actually don't know
Oh
why
yeah.
it's men's only. Like, there might be a reason behind it, but like, do you have any thoughts about gender equity in the sport and expanding the sport to women?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts about
Oh,
it. It's the only sport in the Olympics at all
wow.
without women in it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I believe that Paris this past summer was gender equal, if I'm not mistaken, or it was the most gender equal
Hmm.
Olympics they've ever had.
Hmm.
And the IOC had the opportunity to make this next Winter Olympics fully gender equal and have women in every single sport by adding women's Nordic combined. They already readjusted spots. They could have found the quota spots for women so that we could have men and women.
Hmm.
And there, I mean, realistically, there's no reason they shouldn't be in it. It is a young sport. Women didn't have a World Cup circuit for Nordic combined until 2020 or 2021
Okay.
for whatever reason. It's probably because it wasn't an Olympic sport.
Hmm.
There's like a kind of chicken or the egg thing there. Like, do you put it in the Olympics and hope that it develops and more women start to do it? Or do you wait for it to develop and then put it into the Olympics? And I mean, it just puts it in this really weird scenario where there's these little girls that look at this sport and want to do it and can't do it. And the only reason they can is because they're a woman. It just doesn't make any sense to me. There's no reason really. Like they have a World Cup circuit, they have strong athletes, they have strong performances, they work just as hard as anybody else. There's no reason that the IOC should say that they don't want them in it. And really, the only reason they don't is because they don't necessarily think that it's marketable. And so Nordic Combined in general is actually in a really tough spot right now where the IOC, because the women aren't in it, they want to push the men out as well. So they're considering taking the men out of the Olympic Games for 2030. So our entire sport is actually fighting for its Olympic existence right now. A lot of that rides on whether or not the women get in for the 2030 Olympic Games, which they should. Their events are getting better and better. The women are getting stronger. It's like everything is improving.
Right. And if someone were to say to you, like, you know, you're in it, why should you care about gender equity in the sport? Like, what would you say to them?
I mean, why would you? I don't even know. I, I,
That's a great answer. If I have to explain it to you, I think we're done here.
um,
But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know because everybody has dreams.
yeah,
Like, because everybody should have at least the opportunity to do it. You
yeah,
know, like give them a chance to do it, and don't stop them just because they're a woman. Like that,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
no one can. You can't really control that. Like it's just do it. Just
yeah,
let them do it. Like it doesn't matter.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Well,
a sport also. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I appreciate the gender equity support because I think
yeah,
the women should be in it too. I think that's
I
a bummer that they weren't. Is there anything that like the public can do to kind of encourage the IOC to keep it in for 2030?
push them. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, there's not like petitions or anything, but I mean, spread word or engage in the sport, or
Yeah.
I mean, send a letter to the IOC. I don't
Yeah.
know, just
Yeah.
maybe some gentle nudges to be
Yeah.
like, hey, we do want this. Like, just because like they're trying to take the easy way out by, instead of adding the women, just removing the men and
Right.
trying to get rid of the sport completely, because then they just don't have to deal with it. They can forget about it
Yeah.
until inevitably the sport comes back with, arms a swinging.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, support on, I mean, social media is huge for making it big, and watch the events if you can. When we have events, you can watch them in the US on US Ski and Snowboard Live. It's a subscription, but you get every winter sport with it, so you can watch ski
Oh,
jumping, Nordic Combined, alpine, cross country, snowboarding, whatever you want to watch. But definitely watch the men's and women's Nordic Combined events, because the more
yeah.
views we get, the more marketable we are to the IOC, and then
Right.
yeah, they're more likely to be happy, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, they see the value, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
finally.
Well,
Yep. Hopefully.
the profit, let's put it at the profitable
Yeah,
value.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
value in the sport regardless.
for sure.
So just like kind of a fun question, if you had to pick another winter sport to compete in, which one would you choose? And like you're as good as you would be as good in that sport as you are right now, but you
Okay.
have to pick another sport.
Okay. Well, I have a couple answers, but I feel like I have to stay away from them because I already do both of them.
Okay.
So we'll go with something that does not relate to skiing or cross country skiing or ski jumping.
Okay.
Oi, that's so hard. I'm gonna go with something that I just haven't ever really done, and I've never done team sports. I think it'd be super fun to play hockey.
Yeah.
I've never played hockey. I don't know. I don't think I'd be very good at it. Like, I'm not built for hockey. I'd probably get broken really quickly, but I think it'd be a cool experiment to just like and be a part of a team, and yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
And do you like what is the build for like someone in Nordic Combined? Like what
Uh,
do you want to be tall? Do you want to be small? What do you want to be?
you want to be thin mostly. So
That makes
that's a
sense.
big
Yeah.
part of the ski jumping is, if you're thinner, then you fly farther. So that's a big portion of it. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what I meant earlier when I was saying like we have our bodies in this box where they need to be. And once you retire and go out of this box, then the sport's just not as fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But lean, I'm probably on the taller side. I'm 6 foot ish, a little bit
Mhm.
taller than that. A lot of guys are more like 5'10" or 5'9", kind of in that range,
Mhm.
and pretty strong, like thin on the upper body, pretty strong legs,
Yeah.
really strong cores, and then yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically it.
I feel like core strength is critical for every sport.
Yeah,
I feel like regardless of the sport, it's core and back. Like you
yeah,
got to get that moving.
yeah. I mean, if you can't, yeah, your torso is just kind of where everything's based, so you got
Yeah.
to keep it locked, and then you can kind of do anything.
Yeah. So like who do you look up to, whether it's in the sport or someone that like you look up to that inspires you when you're in competition mode?
Hmm, it's a good question. Well, I can tell you one of my childhood heroes
Yeah.
was this guy Bill DeMong. He's a only Olympic gold medalist from the United States in Nordic Combined. He did that in 2010. He's somebody who not only performed at the highest level and succeeded at the highest level, but also has given back to the sport more than almost anybody I know. I mean, he came back and was the CEO of the organization that supported us for 3 or 4 years and has helped with fundraising and
Mm,
everything like that. And so I think that he's definitely one of my idols within the sport. Yeah.
that's cool. And like what's next for you? Like after you
Hmm.
qualify, after you medal, like after all of that, like what's next for you after this?
Who knows? Lots of ideas, way too many ideas, which I think is a good thing. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm doing a degree in biology right now. I should be finished with that shortly after the next Olympics, and
cool.
maybe we'll go into something like that or something in the medical realm. Not totally sure right now. I'll definitely still stay fit and athletic and competitive. I might just change gears and take it slightly less seriously and I don't know. I love running. I love trail running because we have beautiful mountains where I live. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably do some like recreational trail running races or something like that. Probably will stay involved in the sport. That is actually really important to me. It's given me so much and has been such a huge part of my life for my
Hmm.
whole life that I couldn't just walk away and say see you later and not try to like watch a spark grow in another 5 year old or 6 year old or 12 year old or however old they are and like see it's happened a couple times where I've been on the little hills with the younger kids and I've kind of seen that spark that I remember feeling as a little kid in them. Like they figure something out and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest thing," and they're so excited and like it's just such a cool feeling. Like it's almost a better feeling than when I it is a better feeling than when I succeed to see kids fall in love the same way that I did. So I'll definitely stay involved and maybe coach a bit or do what I can. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then who's the US's like top rival? Like what are the other like maybe like top two countries that like we really want to beat?
Well, everybody,
Well,
but
everybody, yes, but like our maybe our biggest rivals or like our biggest competition.
I think the biggest competition is the Norwegians, who
Hmm.
we actually are partnered with. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Our national teams work together. We use the same wax techs and equipment stuff as them. They help
Interesting.
us out. We help them out as we can. So I mean, they're big rivals because they're the best, but also because we kind of share a lot with them.
Right.
And then the Germans or Austrians are probably the number two nation that's just super strong and super deep. So definitely have to battle it out with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
No, we talked about the one thing that I was like, oh, we should talk about this, and I kind of thought you would ask was the women's
Yeah.
equity thing,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest thing within my sport that is kind of an issue right now.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't. I didn't mention. I didn't answer one of your questions fully, though. I do know that. I was thinking
Okay.
about that because I didn't answer. You asked how I balance everything,
Yes.
and I didn't even start talking about that. I
You're like,
I
I
talked about
don't know.
I talked about motivation, but yeah, I mean balance. I don't really. You're right. I don't know. I'm not really sure that I completely understand how to balance things, but I
Yeah.
mean, I just try to take things as they come. I mean, I'm training 30, 40 hours a week. I'm in school part time in the summers because we don't have all the funding. I have to work a little bit
Mhm.
and then have the social life and whatever else on top of it. So, I mean, it's just kind of trying to make sure that I hit all those markers and also give myself the downtime that I need after I've done all of these things that are all like they're maybe draining that I can kind of recharge and take time. And I mentioned this actually briefly, but I try to make sure that I give myself time to decompress at the end of the season. And then throughout the training season, give myself at least like 3 or 4 3 days where I don't have to do anything. I can just sit and like go relax or like actually take a vacation. And so that's kind of where the balance comes in. It comes in small little snippets of my life,
Yeah.
but I think having all of these things mixed together allows me to feel more balanced and not so hyper focused on one thing. It like kind of levels it out where like, okay, I'm tired from training and I don't want to do my homework, but it's different. Like I can focus on this and it maybe will will level me out. Or like if I have a bad training session, then I can go do my homework and take my mind off of it. Or if
Hmm.
I'm struggling with homework, I can go train or hang out with friends or whatever else. So
Right.
they all add to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed. One of the things I was really surprised about when I first started talking to high performance athletes, whether it was like D1 or Olympians or professionals, I say like I've met one professional athlete, but that you're not constantly going. Like I guess imagine that all you're doing is training year round and it's about peaking at the right time, which it is about peaking at the right time, but having that rest time, like you said, is so important and putting that in there and getting, not only physically but mentally, it was a real surprise for me. I just thought it was you're just constantly like in the zone. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I mean,
interesting to
everyone's
hear.
everyone's highly motivated, and I think people. I think it makes people feel good to realize that like even the best athletes in the world are not motivated every single day.
Yeah.
Like there are days that suck. Like where like I come home and I'm like, that was not type 1, 2, or 3 fun. Like that
Right.
was 0 fun.
Right. None
I don't
fun.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, none fun. Like it
Yeah.
just happened and I did it, but I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, it's not always about just not all athletes are just mega motivated. Sometimes we just have these times that we need to chill. You just need to
Yeah.
turn off, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what advice would you give to your younger self?
My younger self, I would tell my younger self exactly what we just talked about and say that you need to give yourself the time to relax and take care of yourself on a not athletic or school or any other level, and just chill, do some stuff that makes you happy, and let yourself decompress more. Don't rush to do things the way that other people tell you to do them, or the way that other people perceive things to be right. Like listen to yourself and listen to what you need.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Trust your instincts, I guess.
Yeah. That's good advice. And what do you love most about what you're doing?
Man, there's a lot that I love about it and a lot that I don't like about it. But I don't know. I mean, I think it just is such a huge part of what I've or who I am, and I love the community and the experiences that I've had, and the feeling of working hard and setting a goal and then fitting the pieces together to make that goal happen, and kind of just all of the learning and the lessons that come with succeeding and failing and all of that. It's kind of the deeper like emotional part of the sport that is great. Like sure it'd be cool to win all the time, but sometimes being super medium and then having amazing days makes those amazing days so much better. And I think that yeah, the process of getting there is something that I've really, really, really fallen in love with over the last 5 years, I guess, of my career.
Mhm.
I've really learned how to control that process and how to learn from it, and have so much fun figuring it out and planning and like playing with it. Like, oh, what if I do this differently this year? Like, how will that work? Or what if I do this idea? And then sometimes coaches are like, you're an idiot, don't do that. And sometimes they're like, maybe try it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
And how can people find you and support you?
Yeah. I mean, you can find me on Instagram at Stephen_Schumann. It's pretty much my only social media, or my website, StephenSchumann.com. I also have a website. Forgot about
Awesome.
that.
We'll put that in the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah. Supporting us, you can watch Nordic Combined whenever it comes on. You can check out me and my teammates' Instagram accounts, or any other Nordic Combined Instagram accounts. And then our organization, Nordic Combined USA, they do all of our fundraising and support our coaches and wax techs, and they're kind of like our governing body. So they're our support organization. And if you feel inclined to donate or support us monetarily, they will absolutely accept donations or any kind of help that someone wants to offer, whether it's advice or leads or whatever it may be.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So if you feel so inclined to, you know, I always say, like, think about buying someone a dinner, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
that's the one thing working in philanthropy that people often don't think, that smaller gifts don't
hmm,
amount to a lot, but smaller
they
gifts
do.
combined obviously do. So we can
They
all do
do.
something. Well,
Perfect.
thank you so much for spending time with us. I am so excited to watch you and cheer you on. You will definitely have a new fan in South Florida. So,
Awesome.
yeah, thanks for spending the time with us today, and good luck with the rest of your training.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Wait, What Do You Do Again? For more information about today's guest, or if you'd like to be on the show, please visit megdeford.com. See you next time.